one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. Success. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Boom! That's exactly it. I was watching you in the background, Joe Miller, just practicing, trying to time your arm movements.
Nope.
That was good. We're going to get this right. You know what I was trying to do, to get it off that and get it into something else, I had to use, to click it. And I said, oh, maybe I'll try to click it with my left hand. You just can't do it with your left hand. I'm a right-handed clicker. That's how I roll. If I was forced to, you ever see these guys that could write with their toes? Like they have no arms and they could write with their toes. You ever wonder if you were forced to do that, if you'd be able to do it?
I never thought about it, but it would be a struggle. Can you imagine the amount of time you'd have to take and the frustration of that? It'd be crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, how is your penmanship? I mean, people remember we used to practice penmanship. I got a fountain pen that I do that, with what I do there.
My penmanship is excellent, and I don't say that to just say that. Yeah, it's excellent because I've written so many handwritten letters.
Really?
I can actually go back over time and look at what it was. Then it was that, and now it's just really perfected.
It's a lost art. You got to get that going on there. And by the way, for those of you watching, thank you. Comment, do what you have to do. I think it's on YouTube. I bet I'll get the comments here and we'll play around with there. But Joe, I went to Starbucks. I'm not a BFOS, big fan of a Starbucks, but I like to go because it's the Wi-Fi. It's kind of it's a business environment there. They started a new thing where they write your name. They used to write your name, and then they stopped writing your name, and now they write your name again. Have you noticed that? And
I have noticed that.
Some of them have good handwriting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, the reason I'm not a fan of Starbucks either because $6 coffees aren't my thing. However, I did find some old Starbucks cards that I had used at a trade show. So I kind of piled it all onto one card. And it was about $100, right? So I've been going now because it's kind of like found money.
Oh,
and yeah, so it's funny you say that. So here is the writing back again on Starbucks cups. So they got a new, Starbucks got a new CEO. He was the Chipotle CEO. He comes in October and he says, we're going back to writing on cups again. Because he thinks
it's old school.
Well, here's what it did. Their total traffic was down 10%. And they didn't think they were going to make the quarter in the last quarter. Well, they busted through analyst estimates, and they think it's all because of the darn pen writing on the coffee cup.
It's back to old stuff now. I'm telling you, people don't know how to talk to each other anymore. It's great.
It is.
It's great. Because it's easy again. It's just easy again. I can't tell you. I've been doing this, foundation repair and waterproofing and stuff. And look at this, Bancroft, Ontario in the house. Good old PT causing trouble left and right. So, you know how I do the card and cookie thing.
Mm-hmm.
You
Why don't you
know?
tell people that?
So
Tell people about why you do it, why you do
yeah.
that, and what's it about.
So here's the thing, because everything is so digital now, everybody has these digital cards. In fact, they mock people. They say, "Oh, I don't use cards anymore. I have digital cards." You know, all that stuff. Oh, just get it over here. But you have nothing. Now it's in your phone and it's lost in your phone. You know, you got that thing. You never know what it is. You don't want to get theirs in your phone. You want to have your number in their phone so they can get your. But whatever it is, so they do that. So I realized that nobody has cards anymore. So I definitely give out a card. Even if they throw it out, they got the card. In fact, that's my line. If someone says, what am I going to do with this card? This is my line. It's practiced. I say, well, listen, let me ask you. I got 500 of them. I got to give them all away. It looks better in your trash than it does in mine. And
Nice.
They laugh, and it's very good. And they got that thing.
Nice.
But here's the thing. I staple my card to Famous Amos cookies. Now everybody wants my card. And so what I've noticed is they'll take it and they get card and they kind of laugh. And then they all say the same thing. Great idea. I should do this.
There you go.
The same thing. And because the thing in sales is people listen, you don't want to be the best. You don't necessarily need to be the best salesperson. You don't need to necessarily be the most skilled person in a conversation. What you want to be is the most memorable.
I'll tell you. Well, do you know the old story? You know Joe Girard, the greatest car salesman in the world?
Yes.
He was in Detroit.
Do I have? I'm thinking. You keep talking. I'm going to find the book.
Yeah. So Joe Girard was known as the greatest car salesman of all time. He sold at least 5 cars a day, every day, which is crazy. Even in today's world. 5 cars a day. You know how many cards he sent out? He would send like, Happy Easter. He would find something every month to send out 18,000 cards. And all it didn't say, all he did was sign it, and there wasn't much in it other than "I like you." Every one of them said, "I like you."
Yeah.
And he would get more traffic from those 18,000 cards that he would send out to all his customers, his previous customers. He would send out 18,000 cards every month. He never went for. Yeah. He had more business than he could ever do. Same
and
concept,
now for those of you who think that's crazy, I don't have the time to write 18,000. He had people do it for him, so it's fine.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and it wasn't like he sat there and wrote War and Peace. All he said was, "I like you, Joe Girard."
Yes. Yeah. What? Because it's just, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And so these types of ideas for salespeople. By the way, I've been doing some speaking or out and about for a bunch of sales guys and stuff. And it's weird. Things just go in cycles. For a long time, I didn't talk about these things that I'm talking about now because everybody knew them. But now there's a whole new generation. Nobody knows these things anymore. But listen, once you know it, then you know it for the rest of your life. And so, it's important. So a couple of skills that I'm teaching people now about their communication. And communication is really, really key now. People have forgotten how to do it. And sometimes you're watching these, news shows or what have you, and people are always talking over each other and all that stuff and interrupting each other. Nobody's listening, and you don't hear this. You can't get that.
Yep.
And the goal is to get them to talk. Here's a steadfast rule when you're cold calling or when you're talking or stuff like that. If you want people to feel good about themselves and you want people to be heard, here's the thing. Nobody will interrupt. Nobody will hang up on you while they're talking. So that's the whole thing. The whole idea is you want to get them do that. Nobody will interrupt you when you're giving them a compliment. You have to do the thing. If they're not disagreeing with you so vehemently, They won't interrupt. And so you want them to talk. And how you get them to talk is you can't just keep asking questions. That's what salespeople do. They teach you how to ask questions all the time. And it sounds like an interrogation. And nobody likes to be interrogated. Then you get this kind of back and forth ping pong thing. And so
Good point.
an important thing is to kind of frame when someone says, and I heard just today, by the way, Donald Trump is the world's best sales guy. I mean, like him or hate him,
you get no argument here.
Like him or hate him, the guy is so key. And I heard something today. Somebody apparently the Time magazine put a cover of Elon Musk behind the Resolute desk of the presidency. A political cartoon saying he's the real president, whatever. And so somebody asked Trump, and they said, what do you think about Time magazine's cover with Elon Musk behind the Resolute desk? And so Trump, being the world's best salesperson, his comment was, Time magazine, are they still in business? like that's it. Did not even recognize the question. Mocked it. Move along. Nothing to see here.
Exactly.
And that's what we need to do in sales. Somebody says, man, you guys aren't delivering on time. Everything's bad. I want my money back. Something like that. And your answer needs to be, sounds like this has really affected your business. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then they'll tell you why and why. Now, if you ask, well, what's the problem? You're going to hear it. This is the way to do it. And people in communication, have you ever had to save a deal like that?
Plenty times. Plenty times, particularly when I was in the radiology business, when, most of it was about delivery, because, hospitals make a lot of money running scans. And so it's a logistic issue. So you got a piece of equipment that's being used, an old piece of equipment being used today, and they've got patients lined up. So sometimes you're working nighttime, and you're in a tight window to get stuff done. You got a whole team of guys trying to install equipment, and there's always problems. I just thought of this. One time so I'm the guy that does all the sighting, like all the measurements, and I send that to the service guys. And one time I forgot to measure the height over a doorway. So they're pushing this MRI machine down.
Oh, and it doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit. We had to bust out the door, and it cost us way too much. It cost us extra money because we're paying for it.
Yeah.
But things like that. But things like that happen. And
that's fun stuff. You got to fix it. I went on I think I told you I went on that quote that I did something and I bid it wrong. Like I diagnosed it wrong. And then you're like, do you call the person back and say, hello, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And all, what's wrong?
I have talked about this the other day. It's like, it's never fun. It's not fun. But if you just own up to it, people are usually pretty reasonable. I mean, most of the time. Sometimes they're not. I'm sorry, I'm taking my shoes off. So
the best thing in the world, you talk about that Starbucks. I do the same thing. You say it costs a $6 coffee. I get $2 coffee, right? It's always $2, right? And then I get free refills. Why? Because whenever I go there, she's there, the person, the barista, whatever it is, and I look at them and I say, I am going to be your worst customer of the day. Just like that. And they say, oh, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about these awful. And they just, and all of a sudden, they compare me to like, a gorilla coming in there. I'm thinking gorilla because of Patrick Tinney, guerrilla marketing. Somebody who's causing all sorts of problems and all that stuff. And all I say is, this is what I want: a cup of coffee and black. And that's it. And right. And they're like, that's it? That's nothing. Do you want to, tall, medium, large? I said, and they always do the same thing. I tell you what, I'll give you this one, free refills. Like they offer it. And when if they don't offer the free refill, I'll go to them and I say, hey, would it be crazy for me to ask for a free refill? Would it be ridiculous of me to get a free refill? Well, because it's so you make it so it's easy for them to say no, which means yes.
Right. I remember in Tim Ferriss's book, he talked about practicing your negotiation skills by getting a cup of coffee and asking for 10% off, just so that you could get in the habit when you go to something small, right? So that when you got to something big, you had practiced it, and see how many times you can get people say, can I get 10% off of this coffee? And just ask people, just get in get in that flow.
Yeah, you're so right. There's every interaction needs to be intentional. Like anytime you bump into somebody, because you don't want to offend somebody who can hurt you by doing nothing. I had this yesterday. I was a jerk. I learned from it. I had a bolt this big in my tire, and I had to be somewhere. And so I went to the tire place to, just to pull out the bolt and do it, but they couldn't, the tread was too low. And they said, we can't do that. We'll be liable if you blow up and die, we're going to be in trouble. And so they can't do, and I'm like, we got to change all 4 tires. I'm like, probably yes, but I got to get to an appointment. Can you just patch it up from now and I'll come back later? No, we can't do it. No, we can't do it. I go, dude, I just need a patch. The guy says, no, we can't do it. And you know who screwed up? Me. I screwed up because I could have, if I was nicer to him at the beginning, I could have done that. Would it be crazy just to do that? But I was in the wrong state of mind. And that was like a throwaway event. And so I screwed up. By the way, you know what I remembered? I am a man. I can go to Napa or to the auto parts store and I can get the plug myself and I can go ahead and do it. And here, influencers, you got to know what people do. No self-respecting man will watch another man struggle with fixing the thing without coming in and trying to help. They have to help.
Right.
So I got the thing and I went to like a parking lot of an auto repair place and I started fixing it myself in their driveway. Sure enough, somebody came out and you know what I paid them with? My card and cookies. My card and cookies. I said, oh, thank you so much. How much are you? Nothing. Okay, well, here, let me give you some cookies. And so the card and cookies works for everything.
Yeah, it's funny because it's funny how things work like that because, and what you mentioned something too is your state of mind. So your state of mind was different when you were there in the parking lot than it was when you were at the tire shop, right?
Yeah.
So last week I'm in New Orleans. We're driving back here, so we got 3 dogs in the van. So and all that, and like the night before, I go to make sure the tire pressure's right because I know my dad's just like a freak about stuff like that. Like check the oil, make sure it's a 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
So I'll go put air in the tire, and when I do, I crack the stem of the valve. And I'm like, it's probably all right.
Ugh.
Next morning, I get up, tire's a little low. I went, we can make it 6 hours. I said, why would I put myself in this position to, I'll be thinking about that tire the entire time I'm driving.
Yeah.
So I go and, I live in a working man's, my grandfather built the house and it's in the working man's part of town. So there's not like Firestone and all that stuff over there. So look up a quick tire place. 5 minutes from where I am. I walk in, it's like a local yokel place. Guy greets me, hey, how can I help you? And hey, I cracked this thing. I'm trying to get to Houston. And they had that car jacked up, tire off before I could even give him the keys. And, but it was just to show you the difference of thinking, right? So he comes back to me, he goes, it's like $25 for the valve. He said, but there's a sensor on that thing. And if we need to replace it, it's $65. I said, hey, I'm getting good readings. I don't think it's bad. He goes, okay. Yeah. And he comes back and he's got a sad face and he goes, I hate to tell you this, Chris Voss, right? This is going to be a bad morning
that's
for
right.
you, right? And he sets me up and he goes, that sensor was so old, when we tried to take it off, it cracked because it's made of pewter. I said, okay. And it was like 65 bucks. And he was like, was so apologetic about doing that. And he showed me the pieces. It just broke off and it's old. So the difference is that if I'd have, I knew the guy wasn't trying to screw me, that he was doing legitimately. He was just trying to do the best job he could.
Yeah.
And it was a good experience, even though it was not, it wasn't like the outcome I really wanted. I didn't want to spend an extra 75 bucks, but
you'll go back to that guy. I mean, of course, if
absolutely.
You're in the area, you'll go back to that. Yeah, that's it. When people start their own business, and sales is your own business, it really is about you. I used to go to Ness Pizza back home when I was a kid, and Mr. Ness was there making the pizza. We go see Mr. Ness, and so your company ultimately isn't buying your people can buy their products from anyone and from anywhere. It's not like you're gonna. I train these people, these insurance salesmen, and they all have these great sales pitches. The elevator pitches for their insurance. I'm like, dude. Nobody. You're not going to knock on somebody's door and they're going to open the door and the people are going to be freaked out. Going to be like, "Oh my God, honey, come over here. You got to see this. It's called insurance. It's an amazing. Like everybody knows what your freaking insurance is, right? They're buying you, and so that's one of those things. And Joe Girardi was it's the same story. By the way, look at this. I figured out how to do this. Check this out. I could do this, share screen, and I can go to this.
Man, this is Two Old Men podcast here. Look at that.
Look at that. That's big old Joe Girardi. He looks like us. Three Old Men podcast. Tell me if you can hear the sound. Can you hear it?
I can't. No. It looks like it's also in Vietnamese.
Oh, yeah. How come you can't hear it though?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's what Two Old Men, Three Old Men.
Yeah, that's it. All right, it's Three Old Men. That's why we should do the Three Old Men. Would you? I can hear it perfectly.
I could not hear it.
Well, and you can't understand Spanish.
I think that was Vietnamese, which would have been tough enough.
I think that was Vietnamese. That's funny. Yeah, anyway, so they're doing business. There's got to be a way to figure this out. If anybody knows how to make it that you can hear the sound, because you want to hear Joe. I got to get that taken care of. But yeah, the people do. So don't worry about how to sell. Worry about why people buy. And people buy for 4 reasons. They buy because they like you. They buy because they trust you. And then they buy because they believe you. Now, the belief is like, we've been in business for 300 years. Here's my resume. And, we have the best products in America and all that stuff. Most people lead with number 3. But that's number 3. You're not even in the door yet. And so if you want people to buy, it starts with like. So be likable. And we know how to be likable. You got to like them first. And then 2, if they like you, they'll want to trust you. Now you're in the game. Now they want to trust you. And then you got to bring the goods with the belief. And then the 4th reason why people will buy, and this is key, this is where you want to get to. Like, have you ever stopped your car and bought lemonade from 2 girls on the side of the road? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, literally everybody has. I bet, and I don't know for certain because you live in a hot climate, but you probably didn't do it because you were thirsty.
No, we used
you weren't dying for the country time lemonade, that's watered down, whatever. And not only that, it was probably 50 cents, and you probably gave them $1 and said, keep the change.
We used to, when I lived in Baton Rouge, we lived on one of the main drags that went into LSU, into the campus. and it was still a 2-lane road. The subdivision had fought forever to keep it just a 2-lane road, and it would be backed up all the time. So on Saturday, just to have my daughter do it, and her friend, her next door neighbor friend, they would get in LSU cheerleader costumes on that drag, and then put a lemonade thing out there. Well, whatever it was, 50 cents, $1, whatever it was. And they would literally stop traffic. They would have traffic backed up from people stopping.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
You see, I mean, that's how you make your customers. So, and the customers who bought felt good about themselves. You know,
Exactly.
like they weren't buying the ice cream. They weren't getting the lemonade. And so it's the same thing with salespeople. You're not selling your product. You're selling the results of making your prospect or customer feel good for doing business with you.
Yeah.
Gosh, why can't it's like it's everything. You know,
Absolutely.
It's just everything. I don't know, I'm getting ticked off because these young guys that I'm training, it's tough because it's because everybody wants to be product down, and everybody wants to be, right all the time. I got to, my son, greatest thing happened. He was, he has a junk removal company, and he had to take a dump. He had to drop this dump at the place, and the place was closing at like 6:00, and he was going to get there at 6:07. Now these guys are working all day long. At 6:00, they want to get the heck out of. They're working literally in trash all day long. They want to get out of there, and so he's like, "If I don't drop this tonight, I'm screwed for about 2 hours tomorrow. I'll have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and get there early and do all that stuff." And so he goes, "Let me just call him." So he called, and he didn't really know anybody there. He knows them by face. And then he, that doesn't really know their names or whatever. And so he called up. He said, "Listen, do you leave right at 6? Because I'm scheduled to be there at 6:07. And the lady said to him, and she said, she recognized his voice, I guess. And she said, "Honey, we'll stay open for you." And he called me back, and he said, "Daddy, let me teach you something. It's all about relationships." And, I
go
can
get that woman a
1,000
box
times.
of Famous Amos cookies and bring them to her.
That's it. Like donuts, it doesn't need to be big. People just want to feel heard. It's one of your influencers, right? People
Absolutely.
need
It's one of the
appreciation.
levers of influence.
I told it to my daughter when she got married. I said, I didn't give her much advice because that's what she has a mother for, but she was getting married. And so I said, I had a spare minute with her. And I said, "Sophie, let me tell you how to deal with men, the husbands, right?" I said, "They're very easy. We're all very easy. This is what we want. Appreciation. When we come home, welcome your man home. It's just appreciation for the work that he does."
Absolutely.
Number 2, a full belly. Feed. It's amazing what a bowl of noodles will do to please somebody. And when you're serving somebody food, they need that more than anything. They'll break down walls for you. And then they need the other thing. But that's third. Honest appreciation and food, and you got a life to live, and that's what everybody wants, because most people, unless you're dealing with lawyers, are human.
Yeah, I forget, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody last week. It was my banker. It's my banker. It was last week.
You have a banker? Who are you? What are you, a Rothschild or something?
Rockefeller.
I have a banker.
Call me.
Oh, okay.
That's funny. It's the bank I always go to. How's that?
Okay. All right. Yes.
So and she was telling me about some strategies to go through. She was young, and I'm like, it's just nice to have somebody. And I was like very appreciative, like, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And I said, I want to write a letter to your boss. And she's like, I can't give you his name. I said, I'll send it to you. You can do it what you want with it.
Oh,
But
wow.
the whole premise was, as I was telling her, I said, people that have worked for me, it's about money to some point. But then it's not. Money's like usually the sixth thing on the list people really think about. The number one thing, they want to be recognized for doing a good job. Period. It's
Uh-huh.
the same thing in a marriage, right? You want to be
That's right.
recognized. It's the same thing. People want to be recognized for doing a good job. Thank you. I always say thank you so much for
Yeah.
for anything somebody does for you. Thank you so much. And then I wrote her a letter, and she emailed me back. She goes, "You really meant this." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I said,
Wow.
"How many?"
So,
And then I asked her, "How many thank you notes do you get sent to you?"
oh, yeah.
So now, next time I have to get something done at the bank, how hard will it be for me to get something done at the bank?
I
Not
wonder
hard.
if you can get a loan from the bank from that.
I'm going to go find out tomorrow. No, just kidding. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
she would probably work a little harder than
Yeah.
if she didn't know me.
Listen, it's 100%. Again, that's the thing. Never do something bad to someone that they can hurt you for doing nothing.
I love that. I love that expression.
Because people don't. It's when you go to a hotel, the honeymoon suite is normally empty. The ambassador suite is normally empty. It doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
And they can make your day, and they could feel good about themselves that they made a day. They can, so, hey, after they really like you, I'm here with my wife. Would it be crazy for you guys? Would it be impossible? Do you have impossible? Or they can't. Do you have, how about this one? Do you have the power? Would it be crazy to assume that you have the power to be able to get me into that embassy suite? The ambassador suite.
What's the downside of that?
Yeah.
There's no
That's,
downside.
by the way, that's the other thing. Even in negotiation or in asking for a job, I was counseling some job seekers the other day. What do you do when they ask you the question, how much do you need to earn? How much are you looking to make? That question strikes fear in the faces of these people, job seekers all over the world, because you're thinking you don't want to do high, you're going to insult them, you don't want to do low, you don't want to insult yourself and get ripped off. What do? There's no downside to asking for a lot.
Agreed.
It's one of those psychological triggers that in somebody's head, if somebody says, I'd like $800,000, or I'm just putting a number out there, in their head they're thinking that's crazy, but does this guy really think he's worth that much? I mean, there must be something,
right?
Because we kind of know people are very attuned to fairness.
Yep.
Want to be what's fair, and then they're worried that I don't want to lose somebody who's this good. And the fear of loss is 100 times more powerful than is the opportunity for gain. And I'll prove it. So here's the thing. Here's a test you can do with people all over. Here I have, if you choose this one, there is a 95% chance that when you flip this over, that you will get $5,000. All right. If you take this one, did I say a 95% chance you'll get $5,000? That's what I said, right? In this one, there's 100% chance that you'll get $4,200. Which one do you take? Everybody's in a different stage of life or whatever, but most people will choose the 100% chance, even though there's only a 5 or 10% chance that you're going to lose in something else.
Because you're going to lose.
Yeah. Because you automatically kind of emotionally think to yourself, my gosh, if I make the wrong choice and I miss that, I lost $4,200. You have nothing to start with, but I lost $4,200 and I feel like an idiot.
Yeah. By the way,
is it 37? No, we have 2 more minutes.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was 37. I just looked down. I thought it was 37.
Yeah, we have 2 more minutes.
Here's another little. You know, I ponied up to Dr. Cialdini's course in persuasion. So he has an online course which I'm taking, even though I read the book, and it's probably not a whole lot different than the book. Influence. So I'm doing the courses. Yeah, exactly. That's the book, and he was running the deal by the end of January. It was a third off. So I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it just so I can get the quote unquote certification. Right. And, but he talks about one thing, and it just reminded me of this when you were just talking about asking high. He says you should always have a second offer, or maybe even a third offer. So because the magic moment is when they tell you no, when they say no,
yes,
then you come back for a compromise with a lower or different strategy. And he says that you have a much better chance of winning if you just don't leave from the no, that you have a second chance, and that second chance happens directly when they say no. Now is your shot.
The sale doesn't start.
Not 2 days later. Now, that moment.
The sale doesn't start. Your selling doesn't start until they say no. You want the no. You want a good no.
Yep.
You know, and then let them. And then that's the starting point, for crying out loud. I love getting no's. I'm a big fan of no's. You know, because when they say no, good. We have a place right here. So let me ask you, what did you have in mind? You know, and boom, and then you're in the game, and that's how it worked. And by the way, it is a game. It's supposed to be a game. It's the fun part. And what an advantage for a salesperson, because we get into these situations 1,000 more times than anybody else. I feel sorry for the poor barista when they have to deal with me, because they're going to get me something for free. I know it. They don't know it yet. You know, and they look forward when I come in. We're just going to listen. There's 2 types of people. There's people that brighten up a room when they walk in.
Yep. And
there's people that brighten it up when they leave. You know, and you get to decide which one you want to be, and who do you want to come into your store. And so if you'll act accordingly to that. And that's what makes it fun. All right. That's 37 minutes. Actually, it's 38.
Oh, we're over.
See you guys later. Go get them.
Peace.